is money. God's blessed us with money. Aren't you thankful? God blessed us with children. I'm thankful, and I know you are too. God's blessed us with time and given us talents and giftings. And this is what he says about these things. Once again, read in verse 14 of Matthew 25. It says, again, it will be like a man going on a journey who called his servants and entrusted his property to them. That is kind of an important thing to understand, that the talents and gifts that God has blessed me with aren't really mine. They're his. The money that God has blessed me with, and I know this is hard for us to get a hold of and agree with, but the money that God has blessed me with, it's not really mine. It's his. And the time that God has blessed me with, we know that that's a gift from God. The time that God's blessed me with is not really my time. It's my time, but it's a gift from God, and it's his possession. The children that God has blessed us with are his possession. All this stuff that God has blessed us with, so important for us to get in our minds that this is not really mine. That the only reason I even have this is because of this and this. That's the only reason I have any money. I guess some people have inherited a lot of money because their parents had this and this. But the rest of us, we have money because of the talents and time that God has blessed us with. All of this is from God. And back to the parable, he says that he gave to the one 5 and to the other 2 and to the third one he gave 1 according to their ability. And then he went on a journey. And the man who had received the 5 talents went at once and put his money to work and gained 5 more. So also the one with the 2 talents gained 2 more. But the one who had received the 1 talent went off, dug a hole in the ground, and hid his master's money. After a long time, the master of those servants returned and settled his accounts with him. The man who had received the 5 talents brought the other 5. And the master said, Master, he said, you entrusted me with 5 talents. See, I have gained 5 more. His master replied, I love this, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. Then the man with the 2 talents also came. Master, he said, you entrusted me with 2 talents. See, I have gained 2 more. And his master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. Look at Jesus once again, putting the emphasis on faithfulness, putting the emphasis on being faithful. And we find this guy who was given 5 talents of money and took faithfulness and wisdom to take that and make it 5 more. And the reward that he received from Jesus was that Jesus said, you have done a great job, good and faithful servant. Come in and share in your master's happiness. Now, what is revealed in all of this, and back in Matthew 24, verse 45, is that God has given us all of these things, and what Jesus is trying to say is that we need to be faithful, and we need to have faithfulness, and we need to have wisdom. But really, the thing that Jesus really points us to is stewardship. And stewardship is realizing and understanding that this money is not my money. That it's like if Tyler had a bunch of money and he gave it to me and wanted me to manage it and take care of it for him, then I would have become a steward for Tyler managing his money. That it's the same way that God has given us these things, that they are not ours, that he has given us care or stewardship over his possessions. That the talents that God has given us, He has given those to us, and we are stewards of them. That the talents and abilities that I have, I'm a steward of them. And I need to be faithful and wise with how I use my talents and abilities. That the money that God has blessed me with is not my money, that it's His. And He has given me stewardship of it, and I need to be a faithful and wise steward of the money that God has given me. That the time that God has blessed me with is a gift from God. It's His possession, and He wants me to be a faithful and wise steward of the time that He has given me. That the daughter that He has given me is not my possession. That He has given me stewardship over her life, and that I am to be a faithful and a wise steward over my daughter, to do all that I can to train her up in the way that she should go, so that when she's old, she will not depart from it. That I have been given stewardship in leadership, and so have you. And I have been given stewardship in the church, and so have you. And all these things that God has given us stewardship over, He says, I want you to be faithful and wise servants over everything that I've put under your care. And when I return, it will be good for you if I find you faithfully and with wisdom managing and stewarding your money. Faithfully and with wisdom managing and training and leading your children. Faithfully and with wisdom stewarding your time, and using faithfulness and wisdom to steward your talents and your abilities, so that when I return, I will find you doing the work of the kingdom and living to bring me glory and honor. And then Jesus says to the guy who had 5, who gained 5 more. He says, you have been a faithful and a wise steward of what I have given you. You've done a great job. Come in and share in your master's happiness. And what I love about this parable is that then he goes to the guy who's got the 2 talents, who hasn't been given, as many talents and maybe not as much time or maybe not as much money, but he has been given some gifts. And Jesus says to him, you've taken the 2 and you made it 4. And He says to him the very same thing that He says to the guy who had the 5 talents and gained 10. He said, well done, faithful servant. You've done a great job with what I've given you. Come in and share in your master's happiness. That the reward is not based on how much we do. The reward is based on how well we steward what we have been given. The reward is not based on how many talents I have, or how much money I make, or how many converts that come to Jesus because of my preaching. The reward is based on, was I faithful and wise with what I was given? And if I've been given 2 and I was faithful and wise to gain 2, I receive the same reward that the guy who had received more blessings and more gifts than I did receives, because it's not about how much we do. It's about what we do. It's about what we do with what we have. It's about, do I faithfully and with wisdom steward everything that God has given me? And then Jesus says to the last guy, it says in verse 24, then the man who had received the 1 talent came. He said, Master, I knew that you are a hard man, harvesting where you have not sown and gathering where you have not scattered seed. So I was afraid and went out and hid your talent in the ground. See, here's what belongs to you. His master replied, you wicked, lazy servant. It's not what I want to hear. I'd rather hear the, well done, good and faithful servant. Won't that be a great day? That'd be a great day to stand before the Master, to stand before our Savior and say, you know what? I really didn't do a lot, but man, I was faithful and with all the wisdom that I had, I did the best that I could with what you gave me. And to hear the Master say,